Hello, Matt.
Well, Mikey.
Oh, let me shut my door here.
Yeah, me too. My wife has the habit of walking in unannounced sometimes and just flinging the door open and starting to bang, ask questions, and use the
It's her.
printer.
Hey, it's her house. You just live in it.
I'm just making the payment.
Exactly. How you been, man?
Good. Can't complain, man. It's nice, 72 degrees and a little partly cloudy, and everybody's telling me they're just surprised at how soft the lumber market is because they're busy as hell.
Interesting.
It's weird,
Well,
man.
here in Chicago, it's terrible out. We got sleet, freezing rain, snow to the north. I got a flight this afternoon that I'm hoping to catch. Um, we're heading out to Colorado, do some skiing for the President's Day weekend.
Yeah, my son's going to Park City. Luke's going to go do some skiing too.
Yeah, it's they just got a bunch of snow, so
Yeah, it's plenty.
nothing
I just
wrong with
talked to a
that.
guy. I got a message from a guy down in Oklahoma. He'll probably be on the show here in a little bit. He's had 2 days of rain, and today it's below freezing, and he can't get another customer on his yard.
I'm sorry, and he can't get another.
He can't fit another customer on his yard.
Oh wow.
And it's weather crappy, freezing weather, freezing degrees, and he's still packed, still slamming.
Well, I'm sure we're going to talk about that. Well, I know we're going to talk about this. We had the housing starts number came out today. It's okay. Nothing
It's
wrong
not
with
bad.
it.
Yeah, one of the things that's pretty interesting is we started 1.55 million homes last year, and we're on a pace right now on actual starts of 1.3 and change. So we're not down 20%, 30%. We're down about 15%. But the market's acting like we're gonna and preparing for doomsday, and it's not going to happen. And another thing, one thing I wrote about tonight, I don't know if I want to talk about it today, but February, March, April, and May were 25% higher in starts than every other month, the other 8 months of the year. So the seasonal influence, even in a bad year like last year was, the seasonal factor is still something you got to count on. You got to plan for it.
Just as the sun comes up every morning, the seasons happen every year.
Yeah, days get longer and people work harder and they work more and the sun gets nice and it doesn't matter. And home builders don't make money not building homes. They're gonna build them.
No doubt about that. All right, so it is noon in Chicago. Show time. Welcome everyone to Lunch with Lumberman. Mike Wisniewski filling in for Ashley Buckholt. He is on a plane right now. Matt, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
We're going to go over the scouting report today. I think and then tomorrow morning the subscribers of the Layman Report will find in their inbox the full report. Correct?
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff. The market's in the middle of a change. This is, I think, from last week to this week. And 2 weeks ago, it's really been a crazy market. But what I'm going to talk about tomorrow is my theory or scenario of a touch and go economy rather than soft landing, crash landing, hard landing. Just go more like a touch and go kind of thing, where using the analogy of a fighter plane landing on a carrier deck and missing the line to stop it, and he's got a split second to hit the gas and take off again or go over the edge of the boat and crash. And I think that's what the economy is going to do. I think we're going to have just a skim off the bottom, a skim, and then take off again. And in tomorrow's report, we talk about why that is. So I'd encourage all you guys to at least sign up for the 2-month free trial so you get a look at that thing. So, but it's pretty insightful.
Well, something I'd like to highlight, you just can't get enough good information, and you can't talk through it enough. You look at what a difference. 10 days ago, we're talking about basis trading and what an opportunity. It's, basis was at historically wide levels.
Right. Yeah,
one of the concerns people had was, how do I exit my basis trade? How long am I going to have to hold on to it? Well, in this case, it was about a week.
Yeah. It became a problem because the basis trade became workable at the same time. Their spec cars that were shipping in front of when they thought they were going to sell a basis trade from a wholesaler, but they ended up having their basis wood to sell and their spec transit cars to sell. So the market got kind of flooded. The basis just came in too quickly.
But it just goes to show you got to pay attention to all the balls in the field, all the balls in the air. And you got to pay attention to what's happening nationwide, worldwide. We here, we're moving a bunch of Euro product out of Florida back up into the Midwest. Why? Because freight rates came down. So, there's so many factors that come into a market. You've got
Euro used to only go like the states right along the border of the Gulf and the Pacific and the Atlantic. And last year we saw during the pandemic, they were going about 2 states in, but now they're going about 4 states in because they got a $300 1,000 freight rate decrease.
Sure. And you've got freight to watch, you've got hedging opportunities to watch, you've got other markets to watch. So that's what we're here to do. Let's talk through this. I'm going to pull the screen up. Let me make that a touch bigger here. So talk me through what's going on here. What's up at the top, the snapshot here?
Well, if you look at each item, starting with Southern Yellow Pine, you can see that prices increased last week. 2x4s were extremely hot, and the beginning of the week, and let me tell you, things are drastically changing as the end of the week goes by. The mills or the end of the week approaches. The mills are not feeling as sassy as they were. I've seen 2x6s and 2x8s and 2x10s at double-digit numbers under print. 2x12s are still tough to get just because of the time of the year. The big logs are tough to get out of the swamp, and 2x4s have just been not so crazy because they're more available than spruce, and there's been some swap over things, and the truss guys have gotten their builders are asking for longer term commitments from their contractor yards and their truss manufacturers, so they're able to buy wood, sell it out in advance, and there's some of that borrowing from Peter to pay Paul, but it just tells me that there's good interest going on right now and going forward in the near term. So
what I find interesting is the lumber composite is essentially unchanged.
Yeah, and if you look at what that is, it's unchanged because pine is up pretty significantly, spruce is down pretty significantly. Coastal hem fir, dry hem fir markets are probably weaker than I'm even indicating there, and it doesn't really. It just tells you it's mixed. It's not really all flat. It's some up, some down. So it's kind of flat's really not a really good description for what's really actually going on.
All right, let's. What do we got? The momentum here.
Yeah, if you look at that, let's look at spruce next. Spruce prices were down, so the trend is down, the direction is down, and actually it should be accelerating. The momentum is accelerating downward. It was. Coastal infra, Jarek and I are still trying to work out the understanding of what momentum means when it's accelerating. If it's going lower and faster, then it's accelerating, but that's just a typo.
So
go ahead.
One of the things that I think you do so well, especially with this report, is you discuss the structure of the market from seasonality. Yeah, I mean, all the different factors in there. And, I really think you lay it out pretty well, in this current lumber market cycle. Let's talk through this, where we're at right here, the preparation cycle.
Yeah, and this, I have a graphic, and we talk about this in our inner circle group pretty extensively, understanding that difference between the demand cycle and the preparation cycle, and it lags about 30 days. The demand cycle is basically, or the preparation cycle is just what it sounds like. It's in preparation for demand, and it usually starts around November. We get that little year-end bump. It's the first really throwing your pole in the water, bottom fishing a little bit to get some. It used to be more was done in the fall than it was in the winter, but now people are getting more into the delaying that. This has been a perfectly good year to see how the urgency to buy lumber in November or desire has really faded off a little bit, because people don't need to buy the lumber and sit on it for 6 months, so they're delaying their purchases, which is what we're seeing this year. So the preparation cycle usually starts in November and ends in usually April, and the demand cycle starts 1st of March and runs through June. So you can see the demand cycle is a little bit behind the preparation cycle. So that's why lumber prices kind of lead what's going on in the field. We're going to hear people talking about, like I read a thing this morning about it from a buying group that advises members to reduce their inventory to 2 to 3 weeks. And I don't think you should ever have an inventory of 2 to 3 weeks.
Well,
it's just too lean. It's just too dependent on logistics and somebody to have the wood for you. I think you really run the risk of running out of product and not being able to service your accounts if you get.
And I hear something like that, and I think it's utterly ridiculous with where we are in the overall price spectrum. And
and also the price spectrum and where we are seasonally in the business is not going to get worse over the next 4 months. It's just going to get better because you can do more in a day. That's just regardless of the economy.
If you go reverse back a year ago, 365 days ago, you ask any lumber dealer, anyone who had an inventory of lumber, how much do you have? Well, I probably got 5 or 10% more than I really need. Why? Well, I'm just nervous about pricing. And we were at these wicked elevated levels. Like, if there's ever a time you want as little of inventory as possible, it's at the crazy highs.
Yeah.
Like right now, you should have 6, 8, 10 weeks.
Yeah, the market's just given you it took away $100 of a rally and it's giving it back. So even if you get half of it back, this is a stupendous buying opportunity. I think for if you're in the, you're either a speculator. Like guys said, I'm not a speculator. Oh, really? Well, I got 2 weeks of inventory. Well, you're speculating the price is going to go down and you're going to be able to get all you want. So you're still speculating. You're just speculating to the short side. But there are people that have contracts and don't, just buy on a weekly basis. There's really nothing you can do about that. But the people who are looking to take a position and make money off the market, this is a slam dunk, no brainer. You got to buy it, place in the market, and even bumped up off the bottom.
You get in situations like this, and you can, with fairly high certainty, say, here is my downside. We know we're not going to zero. We know inflation has raised the lower end of the spectrum. We know that there are mill shutdowns. As we go lower, the mills will shut down. There will be a reduction in supply. For someone to say you should have 2 to 3 weeks of inventory right now is pure insanity.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know when you can ever get, because of the logistics. Trucking, for example, is, you guys were talking about this last week. You sell a lot of Euro, but you go to the ports and there's 100 trucks in front of you. And people don't want to go pick that up and wait half a day or all day to get loaded. So you got those kind of things going on. There's rail shortages. I talked to one guy yesterday. He said that he's advised all his big box customers to be prepared for rail delays, and it's just a function of the precision railroading, where they've got less equipment, less people, and delay. And because out in the field where there are delays, there's less staff to unload or personnel to unload the cars, so it's taking longer for the cars to get back. So, you get 2 weeks late before you even get into the season good, and it's just a function of not having enough equipment to service the need. And we use 25% more lumber, or housing starts are usually 25% higher in March, April, and May, and June than they are the rest of the months of the year. So that's just to not be prepared for that is simply just crazy.
So I think the way you label the legs of that cycle, accumulation, distribution, maintenance, we're absolutely in accumulation time right now.
Should be. Yeah, this is the time for that. Yeah.
Right. And maintenance sounds like, oh, maybe I'll let my inventory work down to 2 to 3 weeks. That's maintenance.
Yeah, maintenance is what you do. Maintenance is when you just maintain what you have, and I don't ever recommend having less than 4 weeks worth of inventory.
All right. Well, I'm going to take the bull coat, knock the bullhorns off for a second here. Let's talk about the bear side of this. Housing starts came out today. They dropped for a 5th month, longest losing streak since 2009. The trend is your friend. When I look over here at this is what actually came out of the Census Bureau. And on this chart here on the right side, permits are in blue, the dark blue are starts, completions are the green. From a consumption standpoint, this doesn't look good. We're completing the projects. We are erasing the backlog. We're not starting as many, and even the permits are the planning to start is kind of lower. So
I'm gonna give you a counter argument.
And I'm just going to bring up what Greg Kuda says on our Tuesday show. Demand's not going to come to the rescue on this right now. The Fed has jacked interest rates. Like, the demand is fine, but it's not going up. So what will stop lumber prices from going lower is supply side. So what's the counter on that?
The counter is to the last 6 months, demand has not been increasing. I'll give you that. The demand is not increasing, not at all. But for the next 4 months, it will increase.
Okay.
And compared to what it has been over the last 3 to 6 months, and it's just it's got nothing to do with the economy. And the other thing about the housing data should be getting lower. We should be, because the Fed's expectation is that this is what they want to see, that there's less starts, less permits, less finishes, less mortgages, less inquiry, less traffic. Look at the builder sentiment. The HMI builder sentiment went up from 31 to 37 2 months ago. Went from 37 to 47 this past month, and that's a huge turnaround from over in 2 months. And I think the builders that I talk to, I think that's being conservative. I think they're much more bullish than that.
Well, I do appreciate, Matt, that you are a forward-looking person, because you're right. Here is that home builder sentiment, what you're talking about. And home builder sentiment is a forward-looking piece of data.
The people they ask are the purchasing agents at these places. These are the guys that are on the ground, talking to the salespeople about what's the traffic like for 6 months, what's the single family traffic like. This is the single family kind of data, but they're out there looking, and they're seeing something that's significantly better than they did 3 months ago, to be up from 31 to 47, and that's just their opinions. It's their feeling about so they're really regurgitating. It's kind of a nasty word, but they're repeating what's been given to them. And when you got that sentiment among, I think they have 300 or 400 people that they survey, that's a pretty widespread census.
Yeah. So I'm going to jump back now. I'll put my bull coat back on a little bit. I'm sorry. The one thing I do look at here is where we're at right now is still at a level that's higher than we were in January of 2019.
Right.
So, look, we're still underbuilt. There's no doubt about that. But
we got to factor in also, Mike, that 1.8 that we had for a peak was panic COVID. I'm going to die from this. I want to get out of the suburbs. I don't want anybody to breathe on me. And it was the end of it's apocalyptic almost. So that was not a real economic-based number. It was an event-based number. And I think all we've done that right now is we're just back down to where 1,000,003, 1,000,004 is what we know we can produce, because you look at completions, all we're doing is 1,000,004, 1,000,005. And so I'm beginning to wonder, is the market already undersupplied for 1.4 million homes? Because we've taken a lot of production off, and mills are talking about even more production. So I kind of feel like we're at a space where we're going to hit the apex of the Fed's inflation fighting tools. Or it's in full force. I wrote about it there. I went to the grocery store this morning and got 7 items, filled up 3 bags. Now, granted, there were 2 ribeye steaks in there. It was $91. And I almost just left the bags on the counter and walked away, but I thought those ribeyes look good, so I better keep them. But
going back to the supply side, you can't just shut a mill down. You can't just start it back up. Like, the supply is kind of you ease in and out of it, except for the import. If right now the United States is the #1 place to go in the world with your product, if you're a lumber producer anywhere in the world, if somehow someplace in the world becomes a better place to go, i.e. the Europeans will start diverting that wood somewhere else. And the Europeans have become quite a big chunk of the U.S. market, enough that they can swing it, I believe, especially with, Canada's pulling back their supply. Pacific Northwest hasn't really picked up. So, I'd be very worried that we could get complacent at these levels we're at right now. And the unknown, the unforeseen, is if there was a global shift of economics and the lumber stopped flowing to the United States at the rate it is right now.
Yeah, I think there's more disruptions that could make the market rise significantly than it can make it fall significantly, just because of where we are from price. I mean, you can't, the lumber market's not going to fall 150 from where it is. We may lose $50, but I kind of doubt that, because of the urgency that the Canadian mills have. And still, what's interesting is the dominant hand in pricing that Canada or Canadian 2x4 SPF, Western SPF has over the entire market. I mean, it could be down to 10 cars a week, and I think we would still want to know what those prices are as a bellwether.
So here's a shameless plug for digital marketplaces. One of the reasons Canada has such an influence is that there is a futures market for it. And that futures market gives everyone a glimpse into where the pricing is at any moment in time. It's good data is what it comes down to. Yeah. So everyone looks to Canada for pricing because that's the easy thing to see. And, then you can, once you have that data point, you can start comparing it to, what you're hearing about Southern Pine, what you're hearing about West Coast species, what you're hearing about Euro. But it comes back to data. Then let's jump into each little market here. Southern Yellow Pine, you're pointing a finger at some big box stores here. What's going on with that?
It's been my understanding this week from people who supply those guys regularly with VMI and all their, basically all their needs. They get kind of a small group of people, I guess, that do that. But they've been historically negligent or hesitant to release their what the treaters have been thinking was their requirements for the year. But what I understand now is it's not that. What they're doing is they've got the inventory they think they're going to need, because their expectation is repair and remodel is going to be down 5%, when the rest of the industry thinks it's going to be up about 20%. So somebody's wrong. Somebody's guessing wrong. Either the box has got an inside scoop on the repair and remodel is not going to happen, or the industry's wrong that it is going to happen. But I think that's the big thing is the expectation that the DIY business and repair and remodel is not going to be as good as the industry thinks. And that's probably going to hold them back.
I can jump ahead real quick down to the Euro lumber. Speaking of big box, we had product moving through the platform last few weeks that was of box store sizing, meaning 294 pieces in the unit. Normally, the European wood comes over at either like 240 or 260, but these were specific pack sizes for the box stores that the box stores just weren't taking.
Did they take them with the correct, with better sizes?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Excuse me. Did they take the new sizes? Did it move because of the once you got the
No,
pack?
what I'm saying is that they weren't moving to the box stores, so we moved them into the regular market.
Right.
All right, let's take a look at SPF. It took several large production curtailments, even closures, to move the SPF supply needle. And then he said, well, there's still enough supply to create an overbought condition during winter demand.
Yeah, and I think we're with the euro and I think the Canadian mills know that they know that from where they are, there's still a net overproduced condition in all of North America, and British Columbia is in the worst seat on the team for cost and profitability. And I was talking to Kip, Kip Fotheringham, who's been on the show several times, about talking specifically about one mill that's lost all of their profits company wide. They lost it all with 6 BC mills, and they have 30 some operations, like 20 or so in the South. But all the money they made in the South, they lost it in Canada.
Well, and I think Kip brought up a good point as well. I think Canfor made the announcement they were curtailing, and then the reality is they curtailed production that wasn't even there.
Yeah, they curtailed instead of 7. They said they curtailed was a mill that had the capability of producing 725 million board feet a year. What they were actually producing was about 225 million board feet a year.
They right-sized their production capacity to meet their actual production.
Yeah, but the mills Canadian mills haven't been running balls to the wall for a couple of years now. But as the other thing to think about too is as one mill goes away and you've got another mill that's been working 25% of production capacity or 50%, you can just move that capacity. You take the logs, and we have log problems in some areas, and you combine your logging into one location and you shut down a facility. And I know that's expensive, but you get your per unit cost down. But what we think is lost production may be made up by production capacity at other facilities.
All right, so sports analogy here: U.S. West KD and Green Doug Fur delay a game in progress. What's going on?
Yeah, I was just feeling footballish that way. But it's like 2 weeks ago. Let's go 3 weeks ago. The market was arguably still going to go lower. And Canfor made their announcement that they were going to shut one mill down, the 75 million board foot mill. And everybody panicked and bought it. And the futures got it to this extremely large premium. And then the next week, it just all went away. And then over the last 10 days, we've seen the market just go from the overreaction of just that one announcement to, there was a lot of basis trades going on and all that kind of thing, to all of a sudden we're here just 10 days later and it's stalled. There's nothing. And the mills are not wanting to, take $50 off because they just got $100 up. And the buyers are feeling like they've got all they need for, covered through March. And I just think we're just got a delay of the game, as everybody's like, it's almost like a timeout. It says, let's just watch and see what's going to happen. But every day that goes by, we get closer and closer to spring. We're 2 weeks away from spring being here. And I know it's nasty up there, but it's 72 and sunny in Charlotte, North Carolina today. And we're going to get a little rain, but the bulk of the wood that moves in the country is in the South. And other than Texas having some bad weather, which appears to be drying up pretty quickly. It doesn't take many days to dry it up when it's in the South. But I just think there's a lot of pent up demand, and the delay of the game, I guess, is just an expression of the inevitable is going to happen. It's going to turn around. It's going to start going, and when the delay of the game is over, somebody's going to get run over.
OSB, boy, that seems like a tale of two cities. I guess I hear some regions are looking for looking for orders. Other regions are moving higher.
Yeah. Southeast seems to be hotter than everywhere else.
It certainly does seem that way.
Yeah. I've heard numbers consistently 20 over print for the last couple of weeks. And then all of a sudden, like this week, I'm hearing there's a little more availability in everything, actually.
All right, what are we looking at in this chart here on the bottom?
Well, if you just look at where the forecasted decision points are, we're at a place. We hit a point at week number 5 there. I think is that what the number is. The last one was, I can't see the.
Yeah, 5. Yep,
5. And we're at a time. We go back to those demand and preparation cycles. We're still in the final throes of the first round of the preparation cycle, inventory accumulation leg, and I don't believe it's over. I think we got a little lull here, like that delay of game comment, and there's everybody I talked to, Mike, when I had my little inner circle group together the other day on Tuesday, they were all just shaking their heads and befuddled, like, I don't understand why the market's weak, because I'm just strong. I mean, our business is good. It's promising. They're getting looks at more stuff, and I think the thing that the industry is waiting on is to see how quickly this inventory of new homes that are coming available are going to get sold.
Yep.
You know, there's a lot going to be on the market by the end of this month. We should probably see an increase in new home inventories. I think we'll probably see that this month. But the builders they're moving them off. They're cutting the price by 20 grand and buying down rates. They're doing what they got to do to get them gone, and they don't want to sit on them because they want to make more houses they can sell. That, and I'm hearing things like the new homes that are going up have like not hardwood floors but laminate floors, and not granite countertops but vinyl countertops, and it's a little lower in quality. So we may see some suffering and some bitching and moaning about the quality of homes, but it's just their bills are just trying to make them affordable.
All right, I'm not going to go too deep into the future side here. You're talking about some fractals here, which is technical analysis, which I love technical analysis, but that definitely, you got to read through that a couple times before that.
Yeah, you just don't pick it up and chat about it, but it's pretty self-explanatory. If you're interested in
and we cover this on Tuesdays, and we always appreciate when you chime in, Matt, of course, on Tuesdays as well. The one thing I'd like to just kind of highlight, I think the data really speaks to this more than anything. We're fine. Demand is fine. It's not great. It's fine. Supply is fine. There's no big disruptions going on. So then you got to take a look at, internally your own personal business and where we are in the big picture on the market. I mean, if you're busy and you plan on being busier, why get caught? Like, what if something happens?
Yeah, and you're not going to get beat on price from 300 to 350 to 400. If the market gets that bad, then the price of your lumber is not going to make any difference. You're not going to be able to sell it. So I just don't see that happening. I think the futures market has gotten, with the funds rolling out and trying to get into the new contract, the open interest is down a lot, and volume started to pick up yesterday, which was good, and shows some longs coming back into the market, like Craig was saying. But
yep.
You got to be careful not to let futures, rule things that don't pertain to futures, like Southern Pine lumber or sheetrock or roofing
And along with that, the news cycle. We sit here and we listen to inflation, and the news is always extremist. When I look at everything right now, we seem to be really moving back towards just kind of middle of the road, steady as she goes business. And I think
it's presented, no matter what the news is, it's always presented in a negative way. So housing starts are up, down, or sideways, but there's always a reason why that's not a good thing, why something's got to change and be different. But
and one thing I'd like to leave everybody with, how the people in the boardroom at these corporations that run sawmills think. back in the day when it was a proprietary, a single guy owning a sawmill, he could, see which way the wind was blowing and make a decision. A corporation can't do that. They need data to back up their decisions so they can answer to the shareholders. They got a nugget of data today. They got this nugget of rates are low, or starts are lower, permits are lower. They can make a decision now, or more easily make a decision based off of that to answer to their shareholders. I think you're going to see some sort of production adjustment to right size things if we continue at or below these levels.
So before we take off, let's ask the audience if we've kind of laid out our view of what we think is going to happen. I'd like to hear from some of you guys and what you're seeing about how your business is and what your prospects are, and just chime in and let us hear from you.
It'll take just a couple seconds for that to bleed through, but I agree. I think that's really interesting.
It helps a lot when you guys give your feedback, because I've got an opinion, and sometimes it gets stuck and modified by other opinions that I have by myself. So I find myself going off on a tangent sometimes, but you guys keep me grounded.
Well, and I think that one of the ways as a community, as a group, that we can all be better is to work together. Think about it. If you're on this call and discussing the market, you're going to have a leg up over someone who's not. So we might as well help each other out a bit, get some of this good, timely data spread around so everybody can make good business decisions. Well, we got Jerry McCaughey said, very informative, guys. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Jerry, how's the modular business going?
Yeah, growing.
This seems to be really catching quickly, isn't it?
Well, and it should, when you have labor constraint situations. Here we go. I'm seeing that most of the market is sat back and waiting for another curtailment or shutdown announcement before stepping in and buying another round. 3 weeks ago was the first buy of the year. When is the second buy going to happen? Soon.
So do you want to wait on that announcement, or do you want to go ahead and get in front of it? Because that announcement, the last time that announcement cost $100.
If you followed the announcement, you chased the market higher, and then it dropped out from underneath you. All right, well, I got to go catch a flight, so I'm going to get out of here. Oh, California, hang on. Here's one more. California market is flat, neither getting worse, better, but from a low base at the moment. It seems about, it's kind of what we went over. Thanks, Jerry. All right, next week, I'm going to go get my flight. Next week, Ash will be back. And Matt, as always, it was great to see you. Enjoy your 70 weather in the 70s. I'm hoping for a lot of snow and weather below freezing in the mountains.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks for this comment, too.
All right. Talk soon.
Hey, guys.